say even it's exciting. Granted, my threshold for excitement has lowered since the pandemic, but we do have some exciting news for you. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Bidbuy upgrade to version 16.1. We're going to talk about 3 of the big upgrade features, as well as walking through a separate attachment for some of the highlights that gets really in the weeds, but we want to be able to send that documentation out to you. Also, it's that time of the year for small business contracting reporting, and so State Purchasing Officer Andrew Shackelford is going to be offering training on how to complete the SBCA compliance form, and many of you that have been around for the last couple of years know that every fall there is a report that is required to go to the General Assembly per the procurement code. So Andrew Shackelford is going to offer some training this Thursday and Friday, so we're going to give you some links and times for that. Talk about the Bidbuy practice sessions this Thursday. Fun fact of the day, quote of the day, per usual. All right, so the big news is the Bidbuy upgrade to version 16.1. We talked a little bit about it last week. Just as a reminder, so Bidbuy will be down for the upgrade this Friday evening, September 17th. There will be a news item posted on Bidbuy for all to see, but just make sure that you're out of there. The specific time will be on the news item. Usually it's 5 or 6 o'clock on Friday evening. And then depending on how long it takes to do the upgrade, it will technically be available throughout the weekend, but when you come in on Monday morning, you'll be able to see that the version is upgraded to 16.1. Nothing is going to be visually different. So, we had that previous change from versions where the actual home screen looked different, or the actual whole, the way the interface worked and those sorts of things look different. You're not going to see those sorts of things. In this upgrade, though, we have 3 new big features, and this is really exciting. So this is where the excitement kicks in. So the pricing lockbox feature on RFPs is going to be available. So the big key and the big takeaway is for our current RFP process is, in order to have pricing locked down, we have to do 2 separate bids. We do a technical proposal bid and the pricing bid. Moving forward, we're no longer going to have those separate technical and pricing bids on our future RFPs. We're going to do a full demonstration of that new RFP process next Tuesday, but we'll give you a little sneak peek today so you can kind of see how it's going to work. Of course, the RFP job aids will be updated. There's only going to be 1 moving forward, which is great. We won't have the 2 separate job aids, of course, because we're just going to have 1 RFP bid. Of course, vendor instructions will be updated as well to advise vendors on how to respond to that RFP. So let's get into this just a little bit for a sneak peek. Again, we're going to do the full demonstration. There will be questions. We know there will be questions. We're going to be able to answer all of your questions next Tuesday and on the nitty-gritty and down in the weeds, but we do want to give you a sneak peek on it today. So in the general tab of the bid, you're going to see a new field that's there, and it's called Use 2-Step Pricing Lockbox. It's just a box that will need to be checked when you have that bid that's in progress. So before it ever even goes out, you're going to click the Use 2-Step Pricing Lockbox. And that's going to be really important because you can't do a bid amendment later to add that to it. So that'll be a part of course, a change to the job aid. And then once we get to the summary tab of the bid tab, once that bid is opened, you're going to see this new button that's called Unlock Pricing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to go out to our test environment and just give you a sneak peek of that and show you that. Again, we know you're going to have questions. We all had questions as well. And we will do the full demonstration next Tuesday. So immediately Monday morning, that new process won't be in effect until we give the go-ahead regarding the new job aids that will be posted and the new demonstration. Okay, so I'm in the test environment here, and I have a bid that's in the open status. And so if I go to the general tab, just to show you what I was talking about with that 2-step pricing lockbox, you can see that I had used 2-step pricing lockbox. I had checked it. Okay. So then if you go to the summary tab, and then I go to where I'd opened the bid previously. Now when I go to the bid tab and I see the vendor's quotes, if I go to the summary tab, you're going to see that I can unlock pricing. So at this stage of the game, we had opened it, we'd opened the technical, and you can see in the quotes tab, or excuse me, when we go to the items tab, where normally you would see pricing, you can see the pricing is grayed out. So we can't see the pricing at this stage, which tells me that that lockbox worked. If I were to go into the quotes and open up this quote, I can't see pricing either, right? It's all blank. So that shows me that it worked. Another feature here of the attachments is you can see that there are two different attachments that I attach to our test here. One, if I hover over it, I can click and open it. This pricing sheet, I can't. And so a new feature of the 16.1, that pricing lockbox feature, is that you can select attachments that are, quote, pricing related. And so I'll circle back in just a second and show you when you create a quote on behalf of a vendor later for like a BAFO situation, or from what the vendor sees, is every attachment that a vendor attaches, there's a question on the attachment page that says, is this pricing related? They select that, so we can't open and see that pricing attachment. However, we can see that it was attached, and so that's really important, right? When we're doing RFPs, that we can confirm that something was attached for pricing. And this is kind of a great opportunity for us to talk about for our RFPs that, and we'll talk about this again next week. Sorry, I don't want to keep saying that, but we will. If you do have a pricing that's, for an RFP that is, you're asking for a total price for the project for initial term and maybe renewal term. If you include that as a part of your items, when you create your bid, and they are just going to be entering pricing in there and not also attaching a pricing sheet, you can completely get rid of the possibility of them not attaching the pricing sheet or attaching the pricing sheet but not clicking that it was pricing related. And so we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts of that. But if you have a situation like that where maybe you don't even need to have a separate pricing sheet, so that's something that as we go from the paper world and we are kind of moving into Bidbuy with these RFPs, there's another vote there for just not doing a separate pricing sheet. Now, we do understand sometimes that not all procurements are created equal, right? So that may not always be the case. But if you can, this lockbox feature can really help in terms of just the vendor actually enters in pricing in the items tab, and then it's locked down until it's the pricing is unlocked after the technical proposals are evaluated. Okay, so I just want to show you what that would look like, and then let's just kind of do that next little step so you can see what it looks like. Once I unlock pricing, now when I go to the items tab, you can see the pricing is there. As well as, once I go to the quotes and I open up that quote, the attachments to that quote, anything that was related to pricing, is now able to be opened. And I can click on that and open that up. Okay, so pretty cool. I love that new feature. It's going to streamline our processes. It's going to make things a lot easier, and for all involved, honestly, the vendors, the state, your SPO. I think it's going to be really cool. So we're going to do a nice deep dive. We're going to answer all of your questions next week. We got some other things that we need to get to today, but that's the sneak peek of our new two-step pricing lockbox feature. Okay, so let's go back to our slides here. A couple of our just kind of big, let's knock these questions out of the way. They're questions that we all have, right? Can the agency see pricing entered in the items tab by the vendor before pricing is unlocked? No, you can't. That's just what we kind of showed you there. Can the agency see any vendor pricing documents in the attachments? No, as long as the vendor selected the pricing related checkbox to keep it in the lockbox. And then here's another one. What if our agency has an RFP that's currently published, kind of midstream here? You're going to follow that current process and that current job aid all the way out. That pricing lockbox feature can't be added via bid amendment. It has to be done prior to it being sent. And also, we would have conflicting vendor instructions out there and all those sorts of things. So if you have an RFP that is already published, hasn't been opened yet, you're not going to be able to go back and midstream and add this pricing lockbox feature. So it will only be for future RFPs that are published later. Okay, so actually, I did want to show you what it looked like when you created a quote, and you would see that that question there. So let me go back. Sorry about that. So I'm going and creating a quote. I needed to add the vendor. So if I go into my attachments, right, that's what we're looking for. Attachments, if I go in and add file, you're going to see that, does this attachment contain any pricing, cost, or discount information? So that is incumbent on the vendor to click that box to make it pricing related. Now, of course, as a part of our vendor instructions, we're going to have, we're going to be discussing this really important piece. And so more to come involving that, and we'll share the vendor instructions with you guys and all that sort of stuff too. But the vendor clicks that box, then goes in and attaches their file per usual. Let me just go grab something here. Save and exit. They can see it'll automatically be marked confidential. And then over on the right-hand side, they can see that it's pricing related. They can go in and change that from this screen as well if they didn't hit that previously. Okay, so before they submit, they can go in and actually click pricing related or not. Okay, so I'll go back to our slides now. All right, the next big feature is a required quote attachments. So at the bid, you're going to be able to identify required documents by name that the vendor will need to submit. And this will be really helpful. Again, we'll do a full demonstration next Tuesday, but they're attachments that when you are creating when you're creating the bid, you can actually specifically call out, hey, we need these required quote attachments. And so what happens is the vendor, as a part of their requirements, if they don't say they just put in pricing but don't attach any documents, they're going to receive a specific error for a specific error saying that this bid has required attachments that you have not attached. Now, if a vendor submits something next to that name, so there will be a hyperlink next to each required attachment. So for example, one I see that I think would be very helpful here is Forms A or Forms B, right? So we have our anything over $50,000 or IFB RFPs, you're going to put in a required attachment is Forms A, Forms B. Now, right next to that, when the vendor goes to that attachments page, they're going to see a hyperlink that says submit, and they just click submit, and then they go in and attach their Forms A or Forms B. If a vendor does not attach anything, they're going to get that error and not be able to submit their quote. So that's really handy in terms of it gives them a full stop prior to submitting, and they will not be able to submit their quote if they hadn't clicked submit next to that required document. Now, it's not, the system obviously doesn't have any sort of like document reader and quality control there. So the vendor could click submit next to that required attachment and then attach the wrong document. So there's nothing that's going to keep them from doing that. And you can see down at the bottom, this is just a screenshot from that section of the attachments where it says this will require a quote response to have a file attached before a quote can be submitted. This does not control what file is attached. The vendor is responsible for attaching a relevant file. This does not prevent a vendor from attaching a non-relevant file or a file of a different name than expected. So there's just no way they can specifically check if the vendor attached the correct attachment. But it is a red flag there for the vendor that if they tried to submit without attaching these documents, it's just another way that we can specifically call out these are things that we need. And so for these documents that are required at the time of bid, it's going to be a nice little fail-safe for them. Okay. Next up is the opening date countdown. This was pretty cool. You guys, you might have seen that here when I went back to my creating the vendor quote on behalf of them. So this is just, it doesn't change anything that you guys do, but it is helpful and you will see it. So from the public standpoint, if you're not logged in, or from a vendor standpoint, if they are logged in, they're going to see at the top, as soon as they open up each one of these bids, they're going to see responses are due, and it's just going to be a countdown leading up to the bid opening time. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, it's not changing functionally anything that we're doing. It just lets the public and vendors know if they're logged in that, hey, you got 5 minutes to submit. So that's just kind of a handy feature. Okay, next up, so our training environment. So many times the training environment isn't completely updated at the same time as our production environment. So specifically when we have something like this where we want you guys to be able to go in and practice, right? For the pricing lockbox feature, for example, and just be able to play around with that and see how that's going to actually work in real time. The training environment, and this is just kind of a reminder too, that the training environment is available to you, but the new 16.1 will be deployed sometime next week, so it won't be the exact same time, and I'll be able to confirm once that is done. But we just think that would be this is going to be an appropriate time for you to be able to go in and play in the training environment using some of the new features. So 16.1 will be deployed the week of September 20th, which is next week, and we'll confirm once that's done. And then just as a reminder, if you have access to Bidbuy, you also have access to Bidbuy Train. So if you ever want to go in and practice on anything, maybe you're going to do a procurement method you haven't done in a while and you want to go in and work through something in practice, that training environment is the perfect opportunity for you to do that. But if you haven't been in train in a while, you'll need to update your password, which is easy enough. You just have to put in your confirm. You'll just have to put in a new password. And if you have forgotten your password, like I do 1,000 times, there is that login assistance that you just click on that button, put in your login ID, and you can choose for your forgot password, and they'll send you a temporary password that you can put in and then go in and change it. So yeah, that training is there for you as well. Okay, some of our other highlights. So now we're gonna get into the weeds a little bit on our 16.1 highlights. Those were the three big heavy hitters, but let's go out and take a look at some of the other ones. So this will be a separate attachment in Training Tuesdays as well. I can make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so the first couple here are the ones that we just talked about, the pricing lockbox, the opening date countdown, the required attachments at the quote. For the bid quote, it's going to allow the vendor optional subcontractors. I think this is probably more of a functionality for vendors to be able to keep track of their subcontracting data. It allows vendor to add subcontractors to their quote, even if the bid does not have subcontracting goals. So I think that's more of a vendor feature. The close close Q&A for vendor on a specific date. We don't use the Q&A feature anyway, so you can kind of ignore that. And then there are a couple just fixes, bug fixes that are in here. Discount percent doesn't save correctly. I fixed that issue when a dollar discount entered to prevent discount percent calculation causing an incorrect rounding. Similar rounding issue here with currency values on customer columns. This is another functionality I think will be cool too. We can add custom columns, which are those fields at the bottom of the general tab that we've added that could trigger a separate approval path. So that new functionality is there. We're not quite using that just yet, but stay tuned. That potentially could be used in the future. A couple other fixes here. Required field validation errors display incorrectly for required item level custom columns. So they fixed that issue. Also fixed the issue with master blanket purchase orders, visibility in the contract and blanket search. Purchase order notification award was being sent at the ready to send status, which is not the way it was supposed to work. So that was fixed. So you would see a PO that was ready to send, but you could see that there had been a PO already sent to the vendor. And then at the requisition, the unit cost allow an edit if the prices are less than that catalog or contract price. So if price is edited, user is required to enter an explanation. So if you have any specific questions regarding these, I know I kind of went through those pretty quickly, but many of these just don't pertain to a lot of folks on this call. You can always reach out to us and we can walk through those changes for you. Okay, so that's the 16.1 upgrade. Remember, that's happening this Friday evening. So Monday morning, we'll have these new features available, and we will confirm the rest of the pricing lockbox, those sorts of things, and the job aids on next Tuesday when we go through a full kind of walkthrough from start to finish of that RFP process. But we did want to give you that little sneak peek because we're pretty excited about it. So this Thursday and Friday, Andrew Shackelford will provide training on how to complete the Small Business Contracting Act's compliance form, the annual report, and the mid-year compliance, well, actually not the mid-year compliance form, just the compliance form. So two different opportunities for you this Thursday, September 16th at 2:30, as well as Friday morning at 9:30. So it's that time of the year. So I'm not sure specific on dates. Andrew will go with those in terms of, I just want to get ahead of the question before you say, well, when are these going to be due? Andrew will talk about that on Thursday and Friday for you. And of course, those will be recorded as well. And if you don't have, or if you're not available during those times, we'll make sure that you can get access to a recording if you're not able to. Okay. So our optional training, this Thursday, we have the practice session. This will be the third Thursday. So we do these practice sessions every second and third Thursday. This slide, I just kind of keep this up towards the end of each one of ours for anybody that's new. You do not have to have had come to Bidbuy training last Wednesday in order to show up for this Thursday session. It's open to anybody involved. It's just more of an informal practice session for you to walk through any examples with trainer assistance, and we can go and do jump on the call and share screens, that sort of thing. Okay, and I did want to go back real quick. Sorry, that's a great question. Will email invites go out for the SBCA trainings? So let me go back. There will be a CPO notice that will go out regarding the trainings. I just wanted to get ahead and make sure, because I knew we had a lot of people that are on this call, that I wanted to make sure it was available to everybody. So specific email invites, that would come from your APO if it's something that you are a part of as your responsibility to complete this form. I just wanted to be able to put this out to everybody here that those trainings are going to be happening, but CPO notice will be forthcoming regarding these trainings as well. All right, great question. Okay, and then I keep this slide up here regarding where you can find your Training Tuesdays and the Bidbuy training links to any of our monthly trainings, to our second and third Thursday Bidbuy practice sessions. And our fun fact of the day, this one cracked me up. So all you parents out there, you get to take the day off. I didn't know that was a thing. So these people at the National Day calendar maybe aren't parents. That's funny. And then I ran right up to the end of the day, or to the 9 o'clock. So I didn't have a quote of the day. So my quote of the day is, hey, Randy, that new two-step pricing lockbox feature is pretty cool. It will really help streamline our RFP process. That's from that training guy. All right. Thanks, everybody. If you have any other questions, please let me know. And make sure I'm not missing any other questions. All right, I do have one question, but that's just specific for me. I'll circle back to that person and answer them specifically. All right, guys, thank you very much. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.